Welcome to the June 13th work session of Mayor and Council of the City of Hagerstown. This meeting is now called to order. And first up, we have Reese Farm Development, Water and Wastewater Service, Nancy, our Director of Utilities.
And I do have Ann with me today.
Hello.
Hi.
You've been hot.
I try to stay far, far away, Mr. Brucci.
No.
The very first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pass around, pass that one that way.
Are there two different sets?
Yes.
Correct. So
One
grab
is-
one from each pile, please. Mr. Brucci, will you be doing a song later?
Plan.
I'll be sure to stick around.
Nah, they say they can't hear me.
The same?
Gotcha.
So, first and foremost, I want to acknowledge that, that staff, that I did, hear and understand the direction provided the last time we met. However, since that time, I met with Mayor Crampton, because up until May 26, we had not talked with the town of Funkstown. So everything that had been brought before the mayor and council was not directly from Funkstown, so I wanted to be sure to do that. So what the mayor and I talked about was essentially what his thoughts were, and of course shared my thoughts. And so what was conveyed is that the town of Funkstown would only be interested in providing treatment for the 120 EDUs, and that is contingent on them talking with their engineering firm who's doing the design for the upgrade of their wastewater plant to make sure that is not an issue. We talked about, of course, we also talked about water, and and so I asked, what the interest was in water, and what was conveyed to me that it was strictly related to their ability, utility billing, being able to collect on delinquent sewer accounts. The one thing that we both agreed on is that we want to make sure that whatever decision is made is that we are maximizing, that we are, the water system in particular, we're making sure that whatever we do, that we're not compromising fire flow in any way, shape, or form. And to me, they're the important things from my perspective. So the handout that I provided, I asked Hazen and Sawyer to do a fire flow, to run our hydraulic model, looking at fire flow for the subdivision, doing various assumptions. What I provided on option one is, would be staff's recommendation to mayor and council, which is the city supply the water to this subdivision through a 12-inch water main from Dole Highway. And you can see from the predicted fire flow at 20 PSI, option one, 12-inch supply, that the fire flow, you can see the lowest is right around 1,200, 1,300 gallons per minute, and goes up over 1,500 gallons per minute. I did provide on the chart on the second page underneath the pink heading, the classifications, the NFPA classifications for fire flow. So once you hit 1,500 gallons per minute, you're at a class AA. We try to always, to the extent that we can, we try to make sure that we're making, when we're making decisions from fire flow, that we're at least a class A. We prefer, of course, a class AA. So staff's recommendation on water is that we provide the water using, requiring a 12-inch water main so that we can achieve the best fire flow possible. Staff is also recommending, if we can mutually agree on the terms with the town of Funkstown, that we would be fine with the wastewater service for parcel one only coming from Funkstown. That would require amendment to, a couple agreements, and one of them being the annexation agreement from 1978, another one being the wholesale water agreement. Of course, there would be a requirement for an ordinance, much like we did in 2018, when we agreed to take the wastewater for Funkstown down off of Southern Boulevard. So, you know, I guess I'm just gonna wind it up real quick. Well, the second handout, I do want to talk about it briefly. The second handout is if the mayor and council should decide that they want to do something as far as water is concerned, we would require the 12-inch main with a 10-inch master meter. And that gets us as close as we're going to get to being able to provide for the fire flow for parcel one. That gets us as close as we're gonna get. But staff's recommendation is for wastewater only, and to require a 12-inch main for, developer put a 12-inch main in for the water supply.
So, Nancy, could I just, for a moment though? So again, Reese Farm, we're talking about two parcels. The last time we met, the goal was, this is annexed property, that annexed in 1978. The question at that time was, because of some development issues, and some timing issues, what happens with the customer base, water and wastewater? They're city residents, city supplies it. And when we left, the city was supplying water and wastewater.
wastewater.
I think that's still staff's primary recommendation. But there was conversation since that time. We had to regroup. We met with the mayor of Funkstown. And so you're here. If council has now decided otherwise, staff recommendation would only be wastewater and only on parcel one.
Correct.
But the primary recommendation is still the way that we ended it in May.
Yeah, pump station 9. That's still on the table.
If Funkstown, again, just to reiterate, if we decided that parcel one and 120 EDUs for wastewater goes to Funkstown, there's gonna be some timing issues and timing delays, because there are some significant agreements we have to do. That would have to happen before development can move forward.
And they would be in the form of an ordinance, so just the ordinances themselves would be a 2-month delay in getting that paperwork done.
And the attachments that you shared this evening with option one and option two on fire flow included both those parcels, 1 and 2 grouped together in one there.
Yes, for the 12, option 1 includes both the parcels together.
So, but Paul doesn't want the wastewater if he can't get the water, right?
No, that was not what he conveyed to me.
Oh, okay.
He conveyed that would be his first option,
Right.
but if we could, if fire flow was important to both of us, and if we couldn't maintain the same fire flow, then we would move, we could consider this other option.
So this 12-inch main would be coming from, I know you said Dual Highway, but it will be coming from Corvana.
Yeah, right, yeah, in the, through where the CarMax is
Where
going,
CarMax
yeah,
is. Okay.
yes. Yeah, we haven't changed any of that. We've
Right.
said, you know, that's where we left it the last time, and that's where it still is.
Does this development need a pump station regardless?
If they were coming to pump station 33, they would not need a pump station.
You know, I'm seeing there's a pump station, I'm assuming that's a sewer pump station here, right?
I'm assuming, yeah, and this is from, I don't know what, they've updated this a couple times, and I don't know if there's residual stuff in there from one of the earlier concepts.
I mean, that's a measurable financial item, whether they're pumping it, the Funkstown are pumping it to the city, or if they even needed to pump it for one.
So they need a pump station for parcel one?
So Nancy, before pump station 33 comes online,
Yes.
if they're ready to go today, and we don't have pump station 33 ready to go yet, which we do not, and you can share movement in the timeline, what happens then? They can hook to pump station 9.
They can pump
But
everything
do
up to
they,
pump
is there
station 9.
additional requirements for them, pricing-wise, to make that happen? I think it's,
To hook out, to bring everything to pump station 9, yes, they would have to have a pump station, to come to pump station 9. The question I cannot answer is, do they need a pump station to, if they are pushing that waste, if they need to push that wastewater flow to Funkstown? I do not know
Right,
the answer to that.
I thought the whole premise behind this was that they didn't need a pump station for that because of natural flow.
I'm gonna assume they don't, but I haven't seen that design, so I
So-
will not tell you conclusively that they do
Okay,
not
let's
need it.
just use a what if. Okay, so, and when I spoke to the developer, he said that, he had a right of way to get to pump station 33.
Correct.
Okay? That he was all in on that, and that he didn't need a pump station for parcel one,
He may not.
so, okay, all right. Okay, that was my own, which is the whole reason that he could move forward on parcel one in a more timely fashion than parcel two, because parcel two is gonna require a pump station. Either 9 or 33.
Yeah, he could move quicker with or without a pump station on parcel one because he wouldn't be waiting on the city to complete pump
Right.
station 33.
Right.
So he could move quicker with or without because it's just a matter of him building that infrastructure. But I don't want to say whether he does or doesn't to Funkstown because that was not conveyed to me.
Okay.
but there will still be timing delays if the wastewater goes to Funkstown because of all the agreements that need to be changed, and because Funkstown needs an opportunity to verify with their environmental engineer, correct?
Correct, that was what was
They
conveyed.
have the capacity, but they need to validate that they're able to handle.
The 120 EDUs.
So is this plan been approved by the planning commission, what you've given us?
To the best of my knowledge, it's still concept.
Have they completed a traffic impact study and received approval from the county or the state of Maryland?
I can't answer that.
Well, I want to make sure when we're using the term delay, when you're using that term, we're literally like step
There's a lot of
one
things
of
left to do,
1,000.
yeah.
So, we could, we could build a pump station by the time they complete their traffic impact study and get
Could.
approval from the county for the
Unless
offset
they have
improvements
it.
they're gonna require.
Which I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
I can
I
tell-
can't answer that question.
Yeah, I can tell you, I know the county is requiring that they essentially rebuild Emmett Road, widen it and rebuild
Right.
Emmett Road. Whether they have all of the approvals, I don't know. I can tell you, I met with our engineer.
Here comes Kathy.
I bet somebody knows.
Yay.
Yay!
I know some things. I know they did a traffic study for the Gaber Farm project in Funkstown, and that's when the requirement came on that they were gonna have to upgrade Emmert.
Right.
The city of Hagerstown has reviewed a different concept plan, but there's been no formal development review process yet for this,
Right.
because they've been exploring all these options about utilities.
By the planning commission.
But the planning commission has only reviewed when it was gonna be 100% townhouses. They haven't seen this newer concept, and then we have not done any formal action at all in the city.
Right.
I know that this isn't directly related to the utility question at hand, but I'm gonna say it again as we keep seeing this proposed plan in front of us. We have a plan that is nothing but houses and parking, and where a developer is using the terminology forestation and open space interchangeably. And I will say it again, none of this will be usable open space. And if this is in the city, and it's in a part of the city where we haven't identified areas for active recreational space, and we have a developer that's looking to build, 400 units worth of development, it's just commonplace for me, being in Frederick County, that we get active recreational usable space as part of the development process, and this does not provide any of that. So I know that's separate than the utility issue, but
Yeah, and I
Do
can.
you have formal requirements in Frederick County? Do we have formal requirements here?
I thought within our code that we had a requirement that open space and forestation could not be mixed. I could be wrong about that.
And
So to kind of put timing in perspective, Nancy, do you want to go ahead and just let everybody know timing where you are right now, Pump Station 33?
yeah, we actually met with Picard Horn last week. We are at 40% on the design. We will be bidding out the equipment, the pipe, the pumps and motors, the generator in August. And we expect to go to bid on the design, on the construction in October. So we are making good progress on that.
So, best guesstimate on a completion date?
Michelle is holding my feet to the fire on December of 2024. That's our ARPA deadline, and we are still pushing to meet that ARPA deadline. And as long as we don't have any surprises, I'm very hopeful that we'll be able to have substantial completion then.
So a different direction than what was previously done, or are we sticking with where we were in May?
Well, for me, and only me, I think the question remains whether or not they need a pump station in order to take this flow to Funkstown, or if it can be gravity-driven. I think that's important to find out for sure. And I can't give you a direction for me until I know that answer, because if they don't need one, and then he can move forward at a faster pace, even though I know there's things that have to be, agreements and all that, I get that. But that would determine whether I say, well, yeah, we ought to just go ahead and let Funkstown take the flow or not.
Of sewer.
Right, the flow, right.
But the way that I read that in here is they will technically, maybe I'm reading it wrong. The way I kind of read it is they'll technically be taking the flow, but it gets subtracted from our plant.
Correct. We wouldn't be receiving,
Right.
that, we wouldn't lose that 24,000 gallons of capacity that we would essentially be selling to to these units.
So it saves us 24,000 gallons.
So it maintains that capacity in our system at 24,000 gallons per day for the 120 EDUs.
And-
Parcel.
For parcel one, yes.
Right.
And is the differential that you provide as it applies to the EDU cost for, it says collecting the town's collection fee of $6,000. And then it says, and then Funkstown will purchase allocation from the city at the city's inside rate of $2,800. That's on the water side, that's separate, right?
That's strictly
That's a,
water.
like, if we were gonna do that, which doesn't sound like we are, right?
Correct, that's
On
strictly
the other
water.
side, is it apples to apples, so to speak, for the fee cost to go to Funkstown? In other words, let's say it's $4,000 per sewer connection fee for the city of Hagerstown. Is it $4,000 per sewer connection fee in Funkstown, or are they separate?
If Funkstown, if it's decided Funkstown's gonna serve the 120 EDUs on parcel one, Funkstown has a service fee, and I did not bring that with me for their sewer. They would charge that fee to those customers, much like the county does when the county's a sewer provider. But for the 240 units on parcel two, we would charge.
Proposed units.
proposed units on parcel 2, we would charge our allocation and service fees for those, because we will, that
I
infrastructure.
get that. I'm asking if there's a difference.
I
She
will have to
doesn't know
follow-
the
I will
fee.
have to come back with you on that.
And I'm sorry, Councilmember, are you asking, is there a difference in what the developer's gonna pay for hooking up, or what the customer's gonna pay, or
Well, I
both
know
of
there,
those?
well, I think the important part at the moment is the differential in what the developer pays for connection fees.
Okay,
And I'll,
Because I think that has some relationship to whether or not a pump station is needed. And who, if it is, who ultimately would accept responsibility for that. In other words, I'm not gonna take a pump station in the city, you know what I mean, as part of city operations if the flow's going to Funkstown, if Funkstown's collecting the sewer connection fees for the development. It wouldn't, and that, it would sort of defeat the purpose of why we charge connection fees.
Yeah, I will find out what that different, what Funkstown charges versus what the city charges.
And if there is a pump station necessary.
Pump station necessary, yes.
And if there is, who's gonna assume long-term maintenance and ownership responsibility?
If Funkstown is providing the wastewater, Funkstown will provide the long-term O&M for that, because parcel 2 would gravity flow into pump station 33. So parcel 2 would, so.
Be ours.
Would be ours, and there would be no pump station. If there would be a pump station required on parcel 1 to go to Funkstown, Funkstown will, that infrastructure would be dedicated to them, along with whatever, whatever, we would not assume responsibility for the pump station. We've already made that clear. If, for any of the infrastructure, if 100% of the wastewater for parcel 1 is going to Funkstown.
I think we get some of those questions answered and can make a educated decision at that point.
I'll also circle back with Mayor Crampton and see if he's had a discussion with his environmental engineer to have that answer.
Okay.
right, because it seems to me that's the first question, right? Because if they can't do it, it doesn't
Right,
matter
right,
about
right,
anything
doesn't
else.
matter. Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep, I'm good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Is our favorite part of the month? Not yet.
You get to go over the.
Well, we get the preliminary agenda
Oh,
first.
man. First, you gotta hear the poetry, chief. You gotta hear the preliminary agenda poetry first. Exactly. And bloopers. Alright. Preliminary agenda for a regular session, June 20th. I'll call the meeting to order, invocation, then I'll do the pledge of allegiance. Then the announcements and the rules of procedure, use of cell phones prohibited, restricted. All correspondence for distribution to elected officials should be provided to the city clerk and should include a copy for the city clerk for inclusion in the official record. Our meeting schedule for July is Tuesday, July 4th, no meeting scheduled. Tuesday, July 11th, work session at 4 PM. Tuesday, July 18th, work session at 4 PM. Tuesday, July 25th, regular session at 7 PM. And then we have appointments, Historic District Commission and Planning Commission, citizen comments. And then the minutes for May 2nd to 2023, May 9th, 2023, May 16th, and May 23rd, 2023. Consent agenda, community engagement, open container exemption for MDWK Music and Market, University Plaza. Then for engineering, we have 2022 pavement preservation contract extension, Craig Paving, Inc., Hagerstown, Maryland, and that is in the amount of $1,300,000. Then we have Claire Barton Memorial Construction, SFMS LLC, Bethesda, Maryland, and that's $195,928.55.
And just one point of clarification on that. So the consent form is of course in your packet. There are no substantial changes, meaning the account amounts, the dollars, the vendor is all staying the same. However, I am gonna make one modification by the time you vote on it next week. The, deficit right now was 45,000, almost 46,000. We were looking to potentially reallocate, some fiscal year 24 CDBG funds, and that's still our primary goal. However, because of some timing, we wanna make sure this goes forward. I'm gonna also add general fund contingency. So we'll use that, move forward, and then timing-wise, if we're able to reallocate the CDBG funds for the 46, we will. But I'm just gonna make a note to change that one thing on the funding source.
Curb and sidewalk replacement program, Henson and Son, Inc., Hagerstown, Maryland, not to exceed 230,000. Sidewalk accessibility ramps, fiscal year 24, Henson and Son, Inc., Hagerstown, Maryland, 145,000. And for fire, we have a triple combination attack pumper, 4-guy stainless tank and equipment, that's Myersdale, PA, $898,922, and possibly add in AEDs.
Yes, so, later this session, in just a few more minutes, we're gonna hear Chief Lure do a presentation to discuss AEDs and leak kits. And these are items that we're looking to do and add throughout city buildings utilizing ARPA funds. And just as a reminder, in May, when we were last here and we looked at ARPA, we had set aside or allocated in that box $130,000. So depending on how the conversation goes, we may be getting that consent form for your approval for next week.
For human resources, we have workers' compensation, self-insurance TPA services, PMA Management Corporation, Bluebell, PA, $28,500. And workers' compensation, surety bond, continuance bond, Safety National Corporation, St. Louis, Missouri, $38,100. Workers' compensation, excess liability insurance, Safety National Casualty Corporation, St. Louis, Missouri, $218,612. Administration of medical coverage, United Healthcare, Chicago, Illinois, $471,942. Employee Assistance Program, that's ComPsych, Chicago, Illinois, $9,300. City-sponsored life insurance, voluntary long-term disability and voluntary life insurance, Hartford Life and Accident Insurance Company, Hartford, Connecticut, $49,977. Administration of dental coverage, UCCI, Hunt Valley, Maryland, $45,720. Then we have specific stop-loss insurance premium, material to be presented, which is.
And everyone has a copy of that consent form with us there in front of you.
And for information technology, we have IntelliTime Systems Software Renewal, IntelliTime Systems Corporation, Santa Ana, California, $72,166.70. And we have Glessner Annual Maintenance Renewal and Prepaid Labor Contract, Glessner Technologies, Hagerstown, Maryland, $26,748. Annual Munis Support and Management Agreement, Tyler Technologies, Dallas, Texas, $285,558.90. Sorry. I'm getting tongue-tied. Planning and Code Administration, Property Abatement Work, Lontopia Group LLC, Thurmont, Maryland, $50,000. Police Department, 2023 Annual Accreditation Fee, ANSI, National Accreditation Board LLC, Washington, D.C., $15,075. PLX Software and License, Pinlink, Lincoln, Nebraska, $11,799.10. And then for utilities, we have Light Distribution, Transformers, United Utility Supply, Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, $237,526. And Light Fiscal Year 23 MSEC Grant, LED Light Fixtures, Signify North America, Somerset, New Jersey, $37,091. And we have Light Fiscal Year 23 Soul Grant, LED Light Fixtures, Signify North America, Somerset, New Jersey, $116,865. Wastewater, SSES, Citywide Collection System Rehabilitation, Phase 1B, Pleasance Construction, Inc., Clarksburg, Maryland, $1,359,612.
And again, much like the one that we discussed earlier with Clara Barton, nothing is going to change on this form substantially, same vendor, same dollar amount, but the funding sources are going to change, so by the time you approve this next week, we have a ARC grant of $200,000, $250,000 in the fiscal year '24 capital budget for wastewater, and the other $909,000 is going to come from fiscal year '23 surplus or fund balance within wastewater, so like their cash reserves.
Unfinished business, approval of an ordinance, add chapter 230 transient housing to the city code. Approval of an ordinance amending chapter 232 vacant non-residential structures to enhance support to neighborhoods. Approval of an ordinance amending chapter 233 vacant residential structures to enhance support to neighborhoods. Approval of an annexation resolution A-2023-01 Bosetter Group LLC. Approval of an annexation resolution A-2023-02 Blaine Properties LP. And for new business, we have introduction of an ordinance, amendments to chapter 60 of the city code. I looked at you.
Back in April, I came before you and asked for changing a parking fine from $15 to $20. That's what the ordinance is about. During our attorney's research, the change and create the ordinance for the introduction, we found two things, one of which was we didn't have a fine for a non-electric vehicle parking in a parking space for electric vehicles. And so there's a state statute of $100, so that would be in this ordinance also. And also we found two parking or other fines that were through the chapter that were in different places, and so it's just combining and putting everything in one place. When you look in the city code, you'll be able to find all the same parking fines. The one was on cruising, which is more of an police department issue, and reserving a spot when people put like a trash can or chair, which you're not allowed to do. And those fines were other places, so the ordinance will do three things. One is the fine we talked about, charging a person for a non-electric vehicle parking in the wrong spot, and then putting everything, consolidating everything in the same space.
Is there a fine for parking in the bike lane with your flashers on?
I don't know. There probably is.
Parking or stopping, just casually stopping?
Well, there's double there.
If you're
yeah,
sitting
I
in,
see.
if you're sitting in the bike lane with your flashers on and not moving, you are parking.
Parking.
Yes,
Typically, we're enforcing the parking downtown
I know.
and the meters, not so much.
I was being kind of facetious.
I understand.
Because I know the chief knows the answer to that. So,
We good?
thank you.
Thank you. Approval of a resolution naming alley 2-121 as Ralph Teeter Alley. Approval of a resolution parking lease for the Church Street parking lot with 122 North Potomac Street LLC. Approval of resolution accepting the offer of dedication of certain streets by McCleary Hill Associates, 1 LP. Approval of a resolution, approval of the program year 2023, city fiscal year 2024, CDBG Annual Action Plan. Approval of fiscal year '24 Invest Hagerstown Program Grant Funding Levels. Approval to release and redirect first third program funds. Approval of Chapter 232 First Floor Shell Condition Space Standards Policy. Approval of Elevator Maintenance Services Contract 701 to 2023 through 6/30 to 2024. Approval of Light Division fiscal year '24 inventory procurement funds. Approval of fiscal year '23 transfers for Hagerstown Fieldhouse. Approval of donation from Hagerstown Police Department to the auxiliary unit. City administrators' comments, mayor and council comments, and then we'll be adjourned. All right, and then next up, we have request to use American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA funds to equip city facilities with AEDs, stop the bleed kits, and CPR training aids. And with us, we have Chief Stephen Lohr.
Good afternoon. HFD is asking to spend just under $117,000 to equip every city-owned facility with at least one, and in some cases, more than one, automatic external defibrillator, stop the bleed kit, face mask, all secured in cabinets. And then there's a few minor items to acquire training mannequins, which we don't possess, we normally borrow. And it's the HFD's intent to take over citywide training for all city employees, political leaders, et cetera, for AED administration and CPR. Anybody that paid attention this year to the Valor Awards that the Chamber of Commerce sponsored, I think I counted 7 successful CPR AED resuscitations. I've been doing this since 1971. That's the 2 things that work in EMS, CPR, AEDs. And of course, given society as it is today, we believe that stop the bleed kits, excuse me, were a nice addition to this in any government-owned facility. And I believe that we've also convinced the school board to equip their facilities similarly throughout at least the city schools.
And it's definitely a growing trend. Others
is.
are definitely making these available in public spaces, right? And they're pretty much self-instructions.
They do.
They're not the harder ones, the more technical ones, but
And we'll maintain the units in terms of battery life and that kind of thing. So the one thing that I had a staff member on the way out the door said, Chief, you're gonna put signage beside these cabinets that would include the stuff that's not normally in an AED cabinet. Hadn't thought about it. Finance has set aside $130,000. I don't think that would exceed any kind of bid requirement to, if we want to add a sign and council thinks that's a good idea, we could certainly add that to the list and not even get close to exceeding what
And
we
one of
set aside.
the biggest reason we're looking to add this, don't forget, why we're adding this now to the consent and would like to be able to have the ability to do that, is that the AEDs, the contract for them is currently expires on June the 30th.
It does,
So we're
you're
hoping
right.
to take advantage of that while we can. So sorry for the last minute addition.
So we're looking for your support, and I think it's a really good thing to do for our citizens and our employees.
I think so too.
Yep.
Yes?
Thank you.
Questions? Good. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Next, we have Invest Hagerstown Physical 24 funding levels. Chris Simmerling, Economic Development Specialist.
Afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon, Chris.
So I'm here to review the chart components that you guys have in your packets for fiscal year 2024 of the Invest Hagerstown program, and seek a determination so that we can get the next fiscal year up and running and start accepting applications as soon as possible. Based on the total of $928,000 that's available for FY '24, we are looking at a total of $500,000 for the city center grant program, no change from prior years. $175,500 for the citywide redevelopment grant. $142,500 for the Hagerstown Home Ownership Initiative. That's the down payment assistance program. $70,000 for the rental rehabilitation grant, as well as $40,000 for the sign and facade grant. If mayor and council are, find the levels in the packet acceptable, it can be voted on the next meeting. And our department will be back next month as well to review the financials for the current 2023 fiscal year, and the impact that the Invest Hagerstown program has had.
And Chris, the layout and the amount per category matches, this chart matches what they've already seen in the fiscal year '24 budget book? Or
Correct.
did you make changes?
And the budget book page is in there as well.
And the allocation amongst the groups was kept consistent with prior years.
Correct. And one additional item I just want to mention, next month we'll be coming to talk about the financial report for FY '23. We'll also be bringing some proposed guideline changes for Invest Hagerstown as well to help clean up the program guidelines, make things a little more straightforward as well as improvements.
You guys good?
Yep.
All right, thank you so
Chris.
much.
Follow-up to public hearing, A-2023-01, Bostetter Group LLC. And we have Joanna Wu, our planner, and also looks like Kathy.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay. We're here to talk about and discuss the public hearing that happened 2 weeks ago, last week, for Bostetter. And if you don't mind passing this around, so.
They're both the same.
Yes, they are the same thing. So what was discussed at the hearing is that the county had determined that the density, the zoning is substantially different and would need express approval. And since then, the applicant's attorney has mentioned that they are gonna amend their petition, and so we've also amended our resolution, which is what I just handed out, to state that they will not exceed 50% to not need express approval. I don't know if you have anything to add.
And I conferred with the county planning director, and she confirmed if the resolution was changed in this way to say that they would not develop over the 50% density maximum prescribed by the annexation law, then that does not need county commissioner express approval. And so it was not on the agenda today for the county commissioners.
The added language is, I believe, in red on the second page.
And the applicant requested that we put this in the resolution. This is our resolution. The petition is theirs, the resolution is the city's, and they formally requested we add this so that they do not need to go for express approval from the county.
Cool.
You guys good?
Thank you.
Good. Good.
Okay. Cool, I like that. Nice and easy.
Next one is follow-up to public hearing, A-2023-02, Blaine Properties LP.
All right, with the Blaine annexation, we had the applicant's attorney, add a letter to it at the end of the packet. They unfortunately were not on the agenda for the county commissioners, so that wasn't decided. But they are gonna need express approval, that was explained, and, the memo kinda goes into comparing densities with Hager's Crossing, saying that they're similar with the townhomes. What else am I missing?
Just that we don't recommend taking any action on the Blaine annexation this month, since we have not heard from the county commissioners. And the property owner probably would like to know what that decision is before we act on the resolution in case it needs to be withdrawn.
Yep. Okay.
Sounds good. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Donation to the City of Hagerstown Auxiliary Unit, Chief Joey Kuiper. Chief, you limping?
Yeah, you don't wanna know why.
Old age.
No, that's what happens when you're working on a house and you're transversing open floor joists and you miss one, so, yeah. Yeah, that'll do it, so, yeah, I banged myself up a little bit, but I'm okay. I'm here to request your approval to allow me to make a donation to our auxiliary unit. As a 501c3 unit that they work all the events that we have. They come out on accidents, traffic accidents, fires for the fire department, and they're a voluntary unit. Their numbers, unfortunately, are dwindling, as most volunteer groups are, but they don't get paid for the things that they do, and they do a lot. We would not be able to hold events in downtown without auxiliary units. So what I'd like to do is take $5,000 of, from my budget, from the Community Programs Fund, and make a donation to them, unrestricted funding to them, that they can take care of their own members however they see fit. Whether it's buying them food, giving them a stipend, whatever they decide to do, that doesn't have any restrictions from the city in terms of how they would do that. They have done this tirelessly for as long as I can remember, and it's something that I think would boost their morale and would boost them dramatically to keep moving forward and hopefully build their ranks as well. So I'm looking for permission to do so from this body.
I'm fine with this. How can we make sure that it continues, that, in some fashion?
I'd be more than happy to find, I'm fortunate enough that in my budget yearly, that with salary savings and things like that, coming up with $5,000 is not something that's too hard for me to do. But I think that would be something I could manage within the budget without asking for any additional money. We tend to budget things and things come in cheaper, like I said, salaries get saved, whatever that is. As long as it's not impacting the overall budget that Michelle has to modify, I don't see it as a problem to not have to put it in a budget, not to make it a budgetary thing, but just to find that money yearly at the end of the year to kind of maybe make that donation to them.
Yeah.
Well, here's the bottom line. We're using the term volunteer, but here's the reality. We'd have to find it in your budget
Yeah.
with your personnel if this group wasn't doing this in the voluntary nature that they are. You know what I mean? Like, it isn't as if you could do without it on a lot of those scenes in which they show up.
Right.
Somebody within the public safety regiment of yourselves, fire, county sheriff, whoever is gonna, you know what I mean? They would have to assume or absorb that burden that they're
A
alleviating.
lot more than $5,000 to pay
Yeah,
the
at a
overtime. for
way,
that.
way higher cost. So when people out there hear us discussing giving the auxiliary 5,000, we're giving them 5,000 because they're saving us like 50,000.
Yeah, and we've worked, I know with Michelle, we've worked with finance to try to find ways to have organizations that are event-driven to give, again, to make donations to the auxiliary as part of those events to help them as well. But that just doesn't happen as often as, for the amount of work that they do. And they do a tremendous amount of work. I cannot say more, they're just a unique brand of people that will come in and volunteer their time after they work a full job and then come in here and work 40 hours voluntary to help the city, to help us out. There's just a special breed of people. And I love those guys more than I can ever tell you. That's the work that they do.
Is there a way when the donation is made that we can make a thing about it, like a proclamation or some kind
Yeah,
of,
bring 'em in.
presentation?
I think they would love that.
Thank
Yeah.
them.
I think that'd be
Thank them
great.
If there's
Personally.
any way we can get the word out to get more volunteers or something like that, let us know,
Sure.
so we can make sure to keep this going.
Like I said, they're aging out. A lot of our volunteers are on, little on the older side, but they come in, they still work.
love it.
They work. I would love to have, a whole slew of people working for the city that have that mentality, because they are just workers, and they love what they do. They really do.
Came from the greatest generation.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, I'm okay with it. Especially if we can sustain it and make a,
Yeah, I like that
presentation.
they could do what they want with it. Like if they wanted to break it up, if they wanted to celebrate, I like that.
They can buy equipment with it, they can do
Yeah, I
whatever
love that.
whatever, it's their decision to do
We
what they
supply
want.
their uniforms and stuff.
Uniforms, cars, yeah, we take care of some of the stuff for
Well,
them, but,
cars.
yeah. Or car.
If you call it that.
Yeah. I mean, we bought them a pickup truck, we got them those things, but it's those other little things that,
Yeah.
feeding them during an event,
Yeah.
getting them food, just standing on a post directing traffic for 6 or 8 hours and, getting them something to drink and something to eat, things like
See them
that.
out
so.
there at, donut drop when it's freezing cold and, yeah.
They're everywhere.
I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. So,
yesterday up
unsung
on
heroes.
Burhands.
they never say no,
Yep.
so,
All right,
I'm fully supportive.
okay.
thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
We have Maryland Water System Assistance Program. Michelle, right here.
And Beth
And Beth.
Everhart. Support Services Manager.
I've seen you forever.
How you guys doing?
You didn't see me.
Good to see you guys.
I promise you, she shows up every day, even though you don't see her down in her office.
I see her.
I see her downstairs.
I see her.
He said. I think this afternoon, we're just here as a formality. We wanted to make sure we're closing the loop, making everybody aware of a water assistance grant that the state had very generously, it was a new program. They were actually utilizing state ARPA dollars for this, and they were willing to give us $50,983. However, I'll let Beth just high level explain why we declined the $50,983.
We declined the money because it had a lot of restrictions with it, and it would be very hard to comply with those restrictions, given our software and the fact that a lot of the accounts had already been paid. So we would have had to go back in time, determine who actually paid, apply the money, have an overpayment, who would we refund it to. We had to send a letter to the customer, we had to send a letter to the state, we would have to waive all the late fees that were involved in this particular time frame, which could have totaled over $30,000. That's a one-on-one process for each account. So that would have been extremely taxing on the staff to do that. So it would have been very cumbersome. While it's a very nice idea, it would have been extremely cumbersome to accept that money. A lot of work would have had to go into it.
Right, so with the software financial limitations, we started just in this time period, and it was from September 2020 through, I almost forget, January 2020 to September 2022. We had, when we started in January, outstanding balances on active accounts only were over $331,000 just for that time period.
If this is the one that I'm familiar with, this, to me, I don't want to say we, because I want to keep that hat off, but the difficulty in this is, as you point out, the volume of funding and having to go back, there's a great deal of subjectivity to it, where to me, governmental entities at a local level would have been opening themselves up to a degree of liability to go back and pick and choose which ones were most eligible, because you have to almost verify, who was most in need based on, a level of criteria that existed 2 years ago, and have to vet that with each
Right.
individual. And then somebody say, well, I didn't get my $1,000, why did this person and not?
Well, the biggest problem
Yeah.
here for us would have been apartment buildings. We don't know who's
Yeah.
paying the water bill, but obviously they were delinquent, and those people have already moved out. They were in there at the time paying parts of it, but they've already moved
Tenancy
on, so
downtown
we,
is like 7 months.
yeah, so we
some
would
areas,
have a
yeah.
very difficult time figuring out even who to apply or repay.
Right, and so one of the challenges was, we had to go back, they said, here's $50,000. And just as Councilmember pointed out, unlike all the other energy assistance, it's funnels through agencies, and then the agencies have criteria, they have applications, and they say who's in need. They were saying, here's City of Hagerstown, here's 50,000. You must
Yeah.
go back, anybody, all accounts that received any assistance back to 2019, those accounts get this first. And so if we use the example, and I'll use myself and Beth, if Beth doesn't mind. We both have those account balances. We can't split, the city of Hagerstown could not split and give Beth partial credit and me partial credit. We had to pay all of Beth's. How do you justify to me why I didn't get a credit? But I got a letter that said, you'll give me a payment plan for something that's been outstanding, and if I haven't already paid since 2020, sending letters for payment plans probably aren't gonna be much of an incentive to get those. And again, we're talking active accounts. It seemed as if we were also gonna have to do this with inactive accounts. So while it sounded good in theory, actually implementing it was hard. However, Beth,
However, the state does have a new program called LIWA, and it has been very beneficial, and we have received over 59, well, $59,748.70 to date, as of today, in water assistance. And that is not just owner occupied, tenants can apply for that. And we actually put that up on the website, how they can go to social services or CAC and get that application and what assistance is available for them. So it's a good thing. It helps the tenants, and it doesn't just have to be owner occupied. So we've been getting a lot of assistance monies from that program.
Right. And then, one of the other good things, Beth, you just want to leave them with anything about Invoice Cloud? Maybe?
What?
How everybody seems to love it? how
Oh,
the-
that Invoice Cloud has been very successful, and everybody seems to love it, and they do. And the town of Smithsburg reached out about what our online system involved, so they were interested. And we are very happy with how it's working out right now. And on the note about water receivables, it's way down. I mean, it's down to less than 100,000 over.
What active accounts?
On active, well, that's inactive, on over 90 days. So that's really good. And some of those people are in payment plans.
That's awesome.
So it's really good,
Yeah.
out of 2 million.
Yeah.
Way to go.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
There's a letter of support for, in front of you guys. Did you see that? For Hub City Vinyl. You guys okay? with it? With it? No?
I'm good.
You're good?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, meanie.
And, should we do closing comments or go into executive?
Go ahead and do comments.
Okay, so, not city administrator, city financial officer.
I'm very sorry. I think they did this on purpose. I think they picked the most action-packed week to put me here.
I was trying to look them up, good.
Okay, so, I don't really have anything other than, I'm gonna make some announcements on some events to say that this is a very happening week. So when people say, I don't have anything to do, come to Hagerstown. Starting tomorrow, Wednesday, June the 14th, Wind Down Wednesday. It's free admission. It's happening on South Potomac Street from 6 to 8 p.m. Thursday, June the 15th, come back to our city farmers market over on 25 West Church Street, which is the parking lot of the building that we used to have it in, from 3 until 6 p.m. We have about 25 vendors already. Almost simultaneously, we're also going to have downtown happy hour, which happens along Potomac Walk from 4:30 to 6. So go to the farmer's market and enjoy yourself there. Friday, not to be outdone, Friday, June the 16th, Flag Day and outdoor movie. We are showing Top Gun Maverick, excellent movie if anybody has not seen it, at the City Park Band Shell, and pre-entertainment begins at 7 p.m. Also, Juneteenth celebration kicks off this Friday from 5 to 9:30 in the University Plaza, and it's going to include a host of different things throughout the weekend, but on Friday, why we celebrate Juneteenth and what came next. On Saturday, June the 17th, continuation of Juneteenth celebration from 9 in the morning until 9:30 at night in the University Plaza. Again, lots of free activities happening all day long, so please come down. Hager House is going to have fun with flags on Saturday. And finally, Fishing Frenzy at Pangbourne Park is happening the same day from 8 until 1. Sunday, Hagerstown Municipal Band kicks off a free concert in City Park at 7 p.m. And Sunday, June 18th, Happy Father's Day to everybody.
Wow,
That's good.
I know, that's a lot of comments, I'm sorry.
you did great. Did great.
I don't have anything
Councilwoman
tonight.
McIntyre?
Nope.
Nothing. Councilwoman Rushi? Councilwoman Burnett? Councilwoman Asher? Oh, wow. All right. Well, with that said, I just want to thank Joy Baltimore and the city of Hagerstown Main Street for the chat and chew that happened at Vibes with myself. And there was probably about 15 young people. And also, it was really cool to see Hagerstown police officers were walking, and they had just walked through one community and came through downtown, and they came through the Chat and Chew, and, you know, spoke and took some pictures. It was just a really cool thing. Young people from the ages of 13 to 24 were there. They were able to receive free resources. There was some clothes. There was lots of great prizes and speakers given out. So that was just an amazing event. And they got to order their choice of chicken wings and French fries, whatever flavor they like. So wings were flowing. So were the questions. And I just want to share this quote. This quote is, "Even if I knew that tomorrow the world would go to pieces, I would still plant my apple tree." And that's Martin Luther. And I just want to share that the ground is good in Hagerstown. And even if I felt like it was all going to be shot, I would still plant my seed of kindness, love, and community. And with that, can I have a motion to go into a closed session, executive session for the appointment, employment, assignment, or promotion discipline for Planning Commission, Historic District Commission membership?
So moved.
Oh, that was
We all
three.
did everything.
Yeah, that was, wow, we're on one
Second.
accord.
Yeah.
Okay. We're like one accord right there, that was good. Did you get who? You just-
Yeah, I'm not
just
sure.
pick one.
Just pick
Pick one.
It was
Give it
either,
to Tiara.
That was good.
That's who I heard first.
really?
Discussion,
Oh, that's surprising.
in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, I ask everyone to leave.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. So many of you.